Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Canberra Football Show, episode 90, Big 9-0, reviewing everything from round 17. We say this most weeks, but there is a lot to get into today, a lot to be unpacked as we are nearing that final round of the regular season. Also on the show today, Chris Webb. Webby, our CPL expert, is back to discuss CPL with us in the last segment, as always, and what a great time to have him back on when that is really, really heating up. The promotion race, the top four race, and that last place race all heating up. So it's a great time to have him back. Glad that time can work out. Otherwise, Michael Georgeski joining me as always. How's it going today? And as we record this on a Monday night, big match for the Matildas against Denmark, and a much improved performance, wasn't it? Before we get into our NPL today.
Yeah, it was certainly their last match, Matt, against Canada. They were definitely a lot better than what they were in the match before that against Nigeria. So a big bounce back for the Matildas, and hopefully they can continue that sort of form and even replicate the same scoreline. I'm sure every Australian will be happy with that. Maybe not a 4-0 scoreline, but just a win, however they get it to move to the quarterfinal stage. So we'll wait and see what happens, but it's going to be a great game. Nevertheless, I'm very excited to sort of see how the Matildas do in that match. And obviously, aside from Matildas action that's on the horizon, Matt, we had obviously Canberra, Croatia playing in the Australian Cup. They were on the wrong end of the result, but nevertheless, great to see a Canberra representative side at this stage of the competition, like always, getting that exposure to the game in another state, another format as well. So congratulations to Canberra, Croatia. Even though they didn't get the result, they still did the capital proud. They put in a good performance.
Effort. And a lot of people were out as well. They had a decent amount of players out, just from when I was watching the match also. And also up against NPL New South Wales is always going to be tough. So like you said, a good performance from Croatia, and a good experience for them. And I'm sure they're going to be hoping to be back soon and try and replicate that, especially with a possible second division on the horizon for either them or Gungahlin. So I'm sure it'll weave in some way for one of those clubs, whoever gets picked, if any get picked.
Yeah, that's certainly right. That's a good point that you raised there, Matt. So I guess the more experience that they can get against, oppositions of these sort of calibers across the country will definitely give them the sort of experience and exposure that they need for the potential of the second division, which, isn't too far away and obviously is still in the works for the future. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Nevertheless, Matt, we'll move into NPL action now, where it's West Canberra Wanderers up against the Monaro Panthers. It was the away team who got a 3-1 victory in this one. It was Harvey with a double, Cerruti with a goal, and for West Canberra, it was Woodawis on the score sheet for the hosts. So it's a big victory for Monaro in terms of their top four status, Matt, after defeating the winless West Canberra Wanderers. The big highlight and talking point for this game for me was certainly former West Canberra player Bo Harvey on the score sheet twice for Monaro to haunt his former club in this game. He opened the scoring in the 37th minute when he was at the right place at the right time to tap home an effort from close range. He would then go on to score his second goal of the game and double Monaro's advantage in the 58th minute after another cross from Joe Lawless found Harvey to slot home the ball into the back of the net. But Woodawis pulled one back for the hosts, netting directly off a corner and perhaps getting the luck he didn't get when he struck the posts on a few occasions against Tigers in round 16. So a little bit of good fortune there for him. However, the Panthers would have the last laugh, Matt, in this contest when Cerruti scored in injury time to make it 3-1 after taking a nice touch from Archie McGregor's cross and finish past Teleski in the West Canberra goal. So in terms of what this result means for the league table, it now means Monaro are in the top four on 28 points following a result that went their way that, Matt, you'll get into shortly, while West Canberra continue to edge closer and closer, Matt, to that relegation zone as they sit bottom of the league on 0 points. So, like we have talked about in recent episodes, there's not that much time left for West Canberra to sort of turn things around. It has to literally be now or never where they start getting some points on the board, or they'll be playing CPL football next season. Matt, do you want to get into our next match? I sort of touched on what this result meant for the league table, but it was a very, very good performance from the away side in this one.
It was Canberra Olympic against Gungahlin United, 3-1 winners. Canberra Olympic were in this one. I was commentating this one with Paolo Celestino. It was a great match to commentate on. In terms of the match, Olympic opened the scoring early on in the 9th minute as Nick Popovic dinked a tantalizing ball over the top of the defender for Adam Niu to run onto and put it past the keeper. Adam Niu scored once again as Nick Popovic put a through ball around the side of the defender. Niu ran around onto it and hit it across the keeper for his brace and his 3rd goal of the season. Also a brace of assists there for Nick Popovic today. Olympic had the better of the first half. In my opinion, they mostly won all their challenges, and they really put pressure on Gunners to give up the ball in the middle of the park and high up the pitch, as we saw for a couple of their goals. In that first half, Gunners struggled to get their forwards into the game in the first stanza. Gunners responded well, though, in the second half as they were more solid defensively, and they found a way to get their forwards more involved into the matchup. They halved the deficit as Sam Habtemariam whipped in a cross, which took a slight deflection off the defender, which Max Green followed through with the run and put it past the keeper. This is Max Green's 16th goal of the campaign. He leads the NPL top scorer charts by 5 goals over tied second place of Nick Taneski and Rocco Stricker. When it seemed like Gungahlin were building momentum in the second half, Olympic hit back in the 76th minute with the final goal of the match. Luca McCall won the ball high up the pitch, like I mentioned in the first half. A decent amount of this on the day, and he beat Noah Cross at the near post to make it 3-1. So overall, tough loss for Gungahlin as they remain in 5th place, 1 point behind Monaro. However, both Monaro and Gungahlin obviously have that game in hand. Well, I believe it's one half in hand due to that abandoned match. So both sides have the opportunities for either Monaro to open the gap between them and Gunners, or for Gunners to retake over Monaro. So good opportunity for both sides there to do just that. Improved performance in the second half for Gungahlin. However, just that first half, Olympic really took advantage. In terms of Olympic, though, like I mentioned, great first half, especially a great performance all round. And most importantly, good bounce back win after last week's loss to O'Connor. Not that there is any shame in losing to O'Connor, especially at the moment. They're just on fire. And what this does mean for the table, though, is it means that they've won 3 out of the last 4. So they're really picking up form at the right time of the season, are Canberra Olympic. They're tied second with Tigers, but Tigers do have the edge on goal difference by a single goal. And Tigers, as of when this comes out on Tuesday night, they will be playing against Canberra, Croatia. So that might change depending on what happens there. If Tigers win or they draw, they'll be above Olympic. But if they lose to Canberra, Croatia, then they'll stay tied second with Olympic for this round. So as of this recording, there will be a bit more, but we'll discuss that in just a little bit. Michael, next up, we have one of the teams I mentioned in that review, O'Connor Knights, continue the roll. They're creeping closer and closer to that title.
Yeah, they are, Matt. A 2-0 win over Tuggeranong United in their latest outing. Nevertheless, it was a tough match. Tuggeranong put up a good fight, but ultimately O'Connor were the ones that prevailed against a determined Tuggeranong outfit. You know, it was far from an ideal start for Tuggeranong in this game as Regan Walsh executed a nice free kick up and over the wall to score into the corner of the net. But in saying that, Tuggeranong worked really hard to get back into the match, albeit without their main man up front, Sam Walker. But all that hard work would fall short as Michael Adams converted from the penalty spot to make it 2-0 to the Knights in the second half in the 58th minute. O'Connor's magical season continues as they now sit 7 points clear at the top of the table, but Tigers FC do have a match in hand in second place on the league standings, while Tuggeranong are edging closer and closer to avoiding relegation despite the loss in this game as they sit 7th on 8 points. Matt, before we get into the round 18 fixtures, we obviously have Canberra, Croatia up against Tigers FC, which is scheduled for Tuesday today of this podcast airing. So that should be scheduled a little later due to Canberra, Croatia's Australian Cup match that we discussed at the top of the podcast. So do you want to get into the round 18 fixtures?
Yeah, our fixtures start with a massive matchup. Tigers FC against Gungahlin United, Saturday, August 12th, 3 p.m. at AIS Grassfield 2. Then we have Tuggeranong United against Canberra Olympic, Saturday, August 12th at Canberra 2:01. Then we have Monaro Panthers against O'Connor Knights, Saturday, August 12th, 4:45 p.m. at the Riverside. And then on Sunday, Canberra, Croatia against West Canberra Wanderers, Sunday, August 13th, 3 p.m. at Deakin Stadium. That's us wrapped up for NPL. Michael, similarly to NPL, we have only 3 matches this week for NPLW due to a match being rescheduled. We'll mention that just a little later. But we kicked off with a team in Gungahlin United that have gone to the top of the table. There are a couple of matches in hand for the teams under them, but Gungahlin United doing their bit. They're once again picking up form.
Yeah, they are, and they're picking up form at the right time, Matt, especially as the season comes to an end towards finals. You know, the tale of this story was the excellent first half display that Gunners put forward in this match, Matt. They scored 3 goals in the space of 17 first half minutes to essentially wrap up the result for the away side. You know, despite the fact that Sharon Chow almost came close to scoring with a back heel, Kayla Wright scored the first goal of the game as she pounced on a ball between the ANUW defenders before putting the ball into the back of the net. Gunners made it 2-0 4 minutes later, courtesy of Chow scoring from a close range effort from Ella Brown's cross. And despite some saves made by ANUW keeper Claire Joseph, Ginger Oliver made it 3-0 to the away side when she lobbed the keeper from outside the box. So a quite great effort there for her to get on the score sheet and increase CUA's advantage at that point to 3-0 in the game. Like I said, they pretty much wrapped it up in the first half with that excellent first half showing. And the result means, Matt, like you said, they're top of the table for the first time this season. So it's a great feat for them. They're a single point ahead of second-placed Belconnen. And you mentioned the point differential and the games in hand that still have a factor to play as the season goes on. And ANUW slipped to their 11th loss of the season and sit 7th on the competition ladder. Matt, do you want to get into our next match? We know the historical background of this clash, and it was the hosts, Belconnen, who came out with a win.
It certainly was. Belconnen with a huge victory against Canberra, Croatia, 2-0. Both goals coming in the first half. First, a bit of team news going into this one. There was quite a bit when I was watching the start of it. So essentially, on the day, there was no Amy McLaughlin and Brittany Palombi for Croatia. No Dumos, Sophia Dumos and Maddie Steinacker for Belco. First start, I believe, back for Bobbin and Legions in first grade since they returned from their holidays. But Amy Bongiorno also received her first start of first grade this season as well, I believe. So there was quite a bit in this one. Kira Bobbin neatly beat her marker before placing a looping cross to Hattie Cram at the near post, who once again did not waste her opportunity to score and give her side the lead. This is Cram's second goal in 2 matches and 9th for the season. So she's in some terrific form there down that left wing. Bobbin came off after 30 or so minutes, seemed to be a bit of a hamstring problem, which is what they said on commentary. Hopefully that's nothing super serious there for her. Belco made it 2-0 in the 36th minute as Cram whipped across into the box. The ball came off Ewan before it rolled into the path of Talia Backhouse, who hit a cracking low shot for the left corner. Great strike there from the captain. This is her 7th goal of the NPLW campaign. Tough loss for Canberra, Croatia, as they now have not won in 3 matches. This means they are now in 3rd place, 2 points behind 1st place Gungahlin, and 1 point behind 2nd place Belconnen United. Belco have 2 matches in hand, and they also lead Olympic by 1 point, but Olympic also have 2 matches in hand. So like I mentioned, great performance for Belconnen United, and they are once again hitting their stride at the right time of the season. And only being 1 point off the top and having 2 matches in hand, that's exactly the position they'd want to be in at the moment. The future is in their hands. Their fate is in their hands, sorry, as it stands at the moment. So a lot to look forward there in terms of the end of the season. Quite a few catch-up matches that need to be played. So quite a bit will be turning besides just the regular rounds for the rest of the season there. Michael, who do we have last up? It was quite an enthralling match just by the looks of the score there.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, absolutely right. It was probably the most entertaining match out of all the games played across all the competitions in Canberra over the past weekend. It was Canberra United Academy 4, West Canberra Wanderers 3. So Cochrane with 2, Christopherson with 2 for the hosts. And for West Canberra, it was Hall with a double and Whitfield with the other goals. So Seaway put forward a dominant first period when Cochrane opened the scoring through her strike, finding the bottom corner of the net. A very good finish as well. Christopherson doubled CUA's advantage 7 minutes later when she was played in by Cochrane in the 6-yard box to, essentially score a very easy and relatively quick goal. CUA scored their third goal, Matt, in the opening 33 minutes of the half to make it 3-0 when she finished close in the box. Christopherson again to get her second goal of the match and in the half, and to obviously build a healthy 3-0 lead for CUA. But West Canberra weren't going away, Matt, and 5 minutes later, it was Hall who got on the score sheet, thanks to scoring from a corner kick. So we've had a couple of those efforts this past weekend, which goes to show the sort of quality that's been produced from sort of those set pieces. And Hall's second goal of the game came in the second half, Matt, when she produced a 35-meter chip to reduce the scoreline down to 3-2, which set up a great game. Like I mentioned, it looked like they were down and out at 3-0, but they really worked hard to claw themselves back into this contest. But before you knew it, CUA got breathing room that they would have been craving for when, they had the 3-0 lead and then had been pegged back twice when Cochrane scored her second goal of the game in the 68th minute, which was served on a platter for her to put into the back of the net. West Canberra would have the last say in terms of goals in this match, though, Matt, when Sarah Whitfield scored a long-range goal, a very good strike to make it 4-3. So what an entertaining contest this was. Absolutely amazing. In terms of the league table and where this leaves both teams, West Canberra obviously bottom of the league on 8 points. Seaway at 5th on 23 points, Matt, but they're 9 points off 4th placed Canberra Olympic. And like we've mentioned a few times, it's a bit of a cluster at the moment. Not every team has played the same amount of games. So there's clubs there that have played 1 or 2 games less or more than the others. So, nevertheless, a great result for CUA, who have had a very positive season, and I'm sure our good friend of the show, Matty Moore, would have enjoyed that as CUA coach. And Matt, before you get into the round 18 fixtures for NPLW, Canberra Olympic versus Tuggeranong United has been postponed to Thursday, August 31st as of right now. So that may be subject to change, but our viewers will know when news comes out if that will in fact be the date or if it will be changed. So Matt, what are the round 18 NPLW fixtures we have for this coming weekend?
The NPL round 18 kicks off at McKellar Park. Belconnen United against West Canberra Wanderers, Saturday, August 12th, 3 p.m. Obviously at McKellar Park. Then we have ANUW against Canberra Olympic, Sunday, August 13th, 3 p.m. at ANU South Oval. Next up, Gungahlin United against Canberra United Academy, Sunday, August 13th, 3 p.m. at Gungahlin Enclosed Oval. Then we have Tuggeranong United against Canberra, Croatia, Sunday, August 13th, 3 p.m. at Canberra 201.
All right, now we move on to CPL in our show, and we welcome back Chris Webb, our CPL expert. It's good to have you back on the show, Webby. How have you been? What have you been up to? And some really good results that we'll get into over the course of the CPL action from the past weekend.
Okay, thanks for having me back. Been well, not up to very much, and yeah, some very interesting results.
Most definitely. We'll kick things off with the first game on our coverage for CPL, and that was Canberra White Eagles and Yoogali playing out a 0-0 draw. So a stalemate at Woden Park Enclosed, which does have some implications for the table on both sides, towards the top and towards the bottom. You know, in context, Yoogali has scored more than 50 times this season. For White Eagles, you know, to keep them scoreless is actually quite impressive when you consider how potent and threatening Yoogali have been in the attacking final third this season. You know, White Eagles did finish the match with 10 men as Ohio Ashekia was shown a straight red card 40 minutes from time. So they sort of had to dig deep and hold on, White Eagles, and they managed to do that to come away with a point. In terms of the table, though, despite the draw, White Eagles now 3 points off Canberra Juventus in 7th, as the latter got a big victory, as we'll sort of break down and discuss in further detail a little bit further into this segment for CPL. But nevertheless, it's it's going to come right down to the wire between particularly Canberra White Eagles and Canberra Juventus. Yoogali's gap on Queanbeyan has closed closer as well due to the latter's victory and this draw. So the gap is now 4 points, with Queanbeyan still having a match in hand. So again, we're in for an exciting race to the end of the season, whereas maybe a fair few weeks ago, the race didn't look as close and as competitive as what it is now, but it's really starting to heat up, isn't it, Webby? So, you know, a stalemate in this game. And what did you make of the result in terms of, obviously, I mentioned what it means for both of these clubs moving forward, you know, in particular, White Eagles, who are obviously trying to avoid the drop?
Yeah, look, very interesting, but again, probably on very recent form, not all that surprising. White Eagles have, while they haven't been picking up points, they're kind of the way they've been playing out some of those games have actually been reasonably good. They've been quite competitive. You know, I think Dayan and Chris McEwen have kind of partnered up in centre back there, and they've been quite assured and made them a much harder, you know, nut to crack, that team, and given them a little bit of confidence in there. And yeah, that was always going to be hard for a team like Yoogali to travel there. And I think they were missing Joe Priest, and he's such a vital part of their cog. His kind of connection with Darren Bailey is just fantastic. So without Joe Priest there, it's a big it's a big loss in there. And so, while I think everyone would have expected Yoogali to come away with the 3 points, nil is not that surprising. But as you said, it has huge ramifications to what's going on. I think we talked about it when I was last on. I think I said, the title's probably over for a number of teams, but I kind of did say that, look, I think Queanbeyan are going to give Yoogali a race. I probably didn't think they'd give them this much of a race this quickly, but it's really heated up now. So, and on the other side, look, White Eagles, again, whenever they pick up points, it's crazy. Whenever they pick up points, Juventus seem to also pick up points. So they just can't kind of get themselves in front. And, they pick up one, and we'll get to it. Juventus pick up three. So while a great result for White Eagles, they actually slipped further behind in that relegation race. So a lot of pressure mounting on them. Angelo Zaris is back from his overseas mid-season trip, which people seem to take a fair bit. And I think that will help with White Eagles' confidence a lot coming into this last. I think, what is there, 5 games left, and they're extremely vital now for White Eagles and what it means for them as a club. So it's come back at the right stage, and it'll be a huge race for them.
Absolutely, Webby. It's it's going to come right down to the wire. A fantastic spectacle, I think, is on the horizon for how this CPL season is going to finish up. But nevertheless, we'll move on to the next match, Matt, where it was a huge result for the away team in this one.
It certainly was, and Webby alluded to it there, and you did as well, Michael. Canberra Juventus winning the battle of the black and white stripes. I think I'm the only one calling it that. 3-2 against Wagga City Wanderers. Wagga were the only ones to score in the first half, with Jake Plonges scoring just before halftime in the 40th minute, taking the momentum into the sheds. Juventus keeper Jason Denham, though, also made a double penalty save before halftime as well. The momentum would immediately switch as the visitors went on a rampage, scoring twice in the opening 4 minutes of the second stanza. A brace from striker Nathan Duck. Wagga struck back to level the scores at 2-2 as Jake Plonges completed his brace. This is Plonges' 13th goal of the season, which levels him with teammate Morris Cazzola as tied third in the CPL goal-scoring charts. In dramatic fashion, in the dying minutes of the match, Juventus scored the winner in the 93rd minute as Nathan Duck completed his hat-trick. This is Duck's 11th goal of the CPL campaign. Overall, though, tough loss for Wagga as they now drop to 4th place, 1 point behind second place Belco, and only lead ANU and the Brindis by 1 point just below them. So in terms of form, Wagga is hitting a few losses and drop points at the wrong time, as they have not won in 3 matches now. Juventus, as we mentioned, huge victory for them. Well fought to come back from going down before halftime and to score late, very late on, to get that win when it looked like a draw was on the horizon. It's big for them because it does mean that they extend their lead over last place White Eagles to 3 points, which could be pivotal at season's end. We'll have to wait and see on this one. This is also Juve's first victory since round 12. So well done to Juve overall for this victory. We sort of mentioned it before, Webby, but what are your thoughts on this one for Juve? And in terms of Wagga, they're dipping in form at the wrong time of the season.
Yeah, look, it's pretty much a mirror of the game before. Wagga, similar to Yoogali, we're having a real purple patch, and both of them have taken a bit of a dip at the wrong time, and similarly, Juventus has had quite a little bit of a splurge just the last couple of games, and they're picking up Callum Rua is a really big pickup for them mid-season. He adds, a lot of dynamism out wide, and it's a huge win, and just creates that little bit of space between them and White Eagles. Yoogali, regardless of the form, Wagga is a very difficult place to go and play. They're very good at home. They know that pitch very well. They usually get reasonably good crowd out there to support them. The refereeing is always interesting out in Wagga. So to go out there and score 3 goals, I think it's a really good result for Juve. I heard that they played extremely well and created a lot of chances. And Ducky's a fantastic striker. I used to have him with me a long time ago, and he's probably lost a yard of pace or two, but he still knows how to find the back of the net. And 90th minute, pressure on, he's the kind of guy you want to have that last chance for you. So really good result. Similar, as you said, look, Yoogali kind of were at once, Wagga, sorry, to mix him up. Wagga were really in that race for the title at one stage, and now, and kind of almost a shoe-in for finals. Now they are in a huge 4-way battle for 2 spots. So, nothing is assured anymore. It's going to be very, very tough for those 4 teams, and what a single point separates all 4 of them. That probably Wagga have got the worst form out of those 4 teams, so they'll probably be a little bit worried from where they've come from to where they are now. And look, not making finals will be a huge disappointment for them, especially what they did at the back end of last year and then pretty much the start of this year. You really would have kind of put money on them making finals with, Cazzola and Plongi scoring goals for fun. But, it's a tough league and you got to stay consistent.
Yeah, it certainly will be interesting. And Wagga and Queanbeyan both do have that match in hand still to play. So that does throw a spanner into the works. So we'll wait and see how that one turns out. It'll most likely, when it does get played, it'll most likely be very pivotal for both sides in Queanbeyan's race for the title and in Wagga's race for that top 4. So we mentioned that quite a bit, but it will be pivotal. Michael, who do we have next up? It was another big match in terms of that top 4 race that we've been mentioning today.
Yeah, that's right, Matt. Sorry, not Match. Your name's not Match, it's Matt. Brindabella Blues up against Belconnen United, 1 apiece in this one. Ward on the score sheet for Brindabella and Belconnen United, it was Tunny. So both of their goals came within the space of 2 second half minutes. So it was a goal of first half that sparked, a fiery start to the second half for both sides. Jamie Ward opened the scoring for Brindabella Blues in the 48th minute. This is his 3rd goal of the CPL campaign. But Belconnen, they didn't take long to fire back in this match as they levelled the scoring 2 minutes later in the 50th minute through Hayden Tunney. The draw for Brindis means they missed the opportunity to jump into the top 4 and leapfrog Belco this round as they remain 2 points off them. However, they remain very close as they are only 1 point off 4th placed Wagga. Belconnen, on the other hand, they did overtake Wagga into 3rd place by 1 point. There is only 2 points between 3rd and 6th, which goes to show just how close and competitive everything is in terms of the top 4 race. And, it's going to continue to get more exciting as we near the end of the season, which I've mentioned quite a few times already in this CPL segment. But Webby, what were your thoughts on this result? Obviously a tightly contested match, not really too much to separate either side, and that was the case with the 1-1 draw, but an entertaining game nevertheless, and it has implications on obviously the top 4 race.
Yeah, look, similarly, we're just kind of that theme of form. these are probably two of the most informed teams in the league. You know, Belconnen kind of picked up a number of wins in the last few rounds. They had a loss to ANU in there, but outside of that, they picked up quite a number of wins. While Brindabella have had some absolutely amazing results the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks. They've beaten Yoogali, they've drawn with Queanbeyan, they've beaten ANU, so they're coming, and I think they might have beaten White Eagles as well. They're coming on some exceptional form. So this was always going to be a really good clash of two reasonably informed teams, and as we said, two teams absolutely fighting for those last 2 final spots. So pretty much, you wouldn't have been surprised if either team came out victorious. So you're definitely not surprised with a 1-1 draw there. And this is kind of what Brindabella did last year. They really started picking up their form at the end of the season, and we saw them go all the way to the final. So, is this again part of Ray's master plan? Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we definitely will see, Webby, that's for sure. Matt, do you want to get into our last match for CPL action? What an entertaining contest it was out in Queanbeyan.
It certainly was. Queanbeyan picking up a massive victory, 3-2 over ANU. And Queanbeyan got themselves off to a pivotal start as they scored the opening goal through Gab AUL, netting in the 21st minute. Rory Spears leveled the scoring for his side in ANU at a crucial point in the match, just before halftime in the 41st minute. This was Spears' 8th goal of the season. However, just when it looked like it was going to be going in 1-1 at the break, Queanbeyan struck back via star striker Nico Abbott as he scored deep into stoppage time to give his side the lead and momentum heading into that second stanza. Abbott scored once again in the 70th minute to give his side 3-1 lead heading into the closing stages of the match. This is Abbott's 15th goal of the CPL campaign, which places him at second in the goal scoring charts, only 1 goal behind leader Darren Bailey. ANU struck back to make it 3-2 1 minute before stoppage time to set up a nervy ending for Queanbeyan. However, the home side saw out the match for a crucial victory. Similarly to what we said about Wagga, ANU are dropping points at the wrong time of the season, having not won now in 3 matches. They they still remain within touching distance of the top 4, only being 1 point off. Huge win for Queanbeyan, as I've mentioned a few times, as they close the gap on Yoogali. They are now only 4 points off them with a match in hand, as I previously mentioned, against Wagga. So form is hitting Queanbeyan at the right time of the season, and they now have the momentum on their side. Once again, this ending for the CPL season is setting up to be electric. Webby, I mentioned it there, Queanbeyan, the in-form team at the moment, and ANU dropping points at the wrong time of the season, even though they're still obviously in the race.
Yeah, look, and again, the theme continues. Queanbeyan in fantastic form, and while we saw Yoogali with quite a big gap ahead of them, it didn't really faze them, and they've just kind of put their head down and just worked their way to a road that. And I think it's 4 points at the moment, but they got a game in hands. They win that, and they bang right into that race. And really, from this point on, I'd say it's a 50-50 race. When last time I was here, I said that there was a race on, but you would have called it as 75-25 kind of thing. Now it's head to head, so it's anyone's game to go through. And while Yoogali have slight advantage on points, Queanbeyan have the advantage on their form coming into it. So it's a massive effort from them. Goran's done a really good job with that squad, and the strike power that they've got there with Gabby Ayol and Nico, and there's still about 4 or 5 guys. Hassan Faraj, I heard, had a cracking game as well, and he's an absolutely quality player. So they've got attacking quality everywhere. solid in the midfield. Connor Nolan's a really big add in there as well. So they're going to be a very tough team to beat. ANU, as we know, is extremely talented, but I think Queanbeyan were deserved winners. And on that ANU side, it's just something that it's a bit different place that ANU have been in. They had a really poor year in that COVID random year where we only played 10 games, and it was a bad year for them. But other than that, they have been the ultimate consistent performers for not just 2 or 3 years, but 8 or 9 years. So this is a bit of a blip for them. So it's going to show kind of what they're made of to be able to turn this around. Kind of talking about it, again, I'll blow my own horn to say the last time I was on, I kind of said I think it's a 2-horse race for the title, four horses in for the last 2 finals positions at a 2-horse race for relegation, and it is clearly shaped up to that now. It's as we said, a point at the top, a point separating the middle 4, and 1 or 2 points at the bottom. 3 weeks ago, I would have said ANU and probably Wagga were the more likely of those 4 to get those 2 spots. Now I'd probably say the form is with Brindabella and Belconnen, and ANU are going to have to really dig deep to nab one of those 2 final spots. Same with Wagga. Wagga, as we said, have got that game in hand up their sleeve, but it's against a raring Queanbeyan, so you can't really count too many points there. So look, it's going to be really, really tough, and big test for Tom, how he managed. He's got this enormous squad, and it's always tough to manage an enormous squad when things aren't going quite right, because then you start questioning all your decisions. Am I playing the right people here? Who have I left on the bench? Should they be in here? Where should they be playing? And it makes those things just that little bit harder.
There's certainly a lot of questions that will be answered in the final rounds of the regular season. And we've mentioned how we are going to have a great ending to this season. It continues next week in round 18. Michael, what are those fixtures for round 18?
Kick things off with Wagga City Wanderers up against Brindabella Blues, Saturday, August 12th, 2:15 p.m. at Gissing Oval. We then have Canberra Juventus up against ANU, Saturday, August 12th, 3 p.m. at Ainslie Field 2. Canberra White Eagles will take on Queanbeyan City. That will be a huge, huge game between those 2 sides. Saturday, August 12th, 3 p.m. at Woden Park Enclosed. Before finally we finish things off with Yoogali up against Belconnen United, Sunday, August 13th, 1:30 p.m. at Solomad Stadium. So plenty of games to look forward to in CPL action.
There certainly is. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. This has been episode 90. Before we head off, we'll get everyone to sign off first. Michael, any last thoughts before we head off? And since the Matildas match will be tonight, as of Tuesday, the match will have already happened. Let's make ourselves maybe look foolish and get a prediction in there. Michael, what are you saying for the Matildas-Denmark match tonight as of this recording?
Okay. I'm going to say 2-1 to the Matildas. I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be as convincing as what they displayed against Canada, just because it's at this stage of the World Cup now, in the knockout stage. I think it's going to be a pretty close game, but I've got the Matildas just edging it, and I can see both teams getting on the score sheet. So I'm going to say 2-1.
I'm going to say 2-1 as well, but in extra time for the Matildas. That's me. Webby?
Everybody that knows me knows how pessimistic I am when it comes to football. It's what you get for being a Newcastle supporter for 30-odd years. I just have this bad feeling that the men's team have done Denmark over in 2 World Cups in a row, that it's Denmark's turn to return the favour here. But I'm going to go Matildas on penalties.
On penalties. Well, we did see that drama yesterday with the
One of the most amazing
US sweetly going out.
moments I've ever watched, that shootout last night.
And how good were the majority of those penalties? It was absolute quality.
The quality is phenomenal until they all started missing. But the
until they started missing. But
the ones that went in were outrageously good.
They certainly were. Webby, any last thoughts before we head off today?
No, look, I hope the Matildas get up. I'm pumped, but no, and look, good luck to everyone in the CPL this weekend. Some really big matches that will, 4 weeks to go, things will start kind of playing out now, and we'll have a better picture probably only the next 2 weeks to see really what's going on.
We certainly will. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. That was episode 90 of the Canberra Football Show. Enjoy your weekend, and most importantly, enjoy the football.